This week, I'm joined by Jeff Mateja. Jeff is a realtor and the owner of the Mateja Group of Keller Williams, one of the best in the business. We have a great conversation about how he got started in the industry, some of the things that he's done to grow and become successful as a real estate agent, some of the other businesses that he's involved in. He also talked a little bit about a mastermind event that he has coming up at the end of the month that I'll actually be involved in as well. So we're super excited about that. Whether or not you are in real estate or business in general, this is a conversation I think you'll get something out of. This is the Randy Forcier podcast. If you do me a huge favor, like the Facebook page, subscribe on Spotify, Apple, or YouTube, I would really appreciate it. Enjoy the podcast. Jeff, I know you're a busy guy. You got your hands in all kinds of different stuff between real estate, radio, TV. So I appreciate you making a half hour to make it happen on a podcast.
You got it.
So you're a guy that I have seen on TV for a while in my career. Notice your advertising all over the place. Why don't you go back to the beginning and tell me when you got into the real estate business, what that was all about, and kind of go from there?
Yeah. So originally licensed in 2006. I did have a full-time job, so I really love those part-time agents because I believe that they can become full-time agents. It's just right there. The entity that they work for hopefully has them in front of a lot of people. So that was my original role. I was in internal audit at IDEP, so a local company, knew a lot of folks, and that got me to jump. I didn't make the jump until 2008 when the market tanked and we saw a lot of foreclosures, short sales. Yet I had already built up a strong business through a BNI network. Was a solo agent for a number of years, had dabbled with partnerships and teams. I knew that was the way to go from day one. It's just, right, whose team do you join? I always wanted to be the rainmaker, the leader. Yep. So it's tough to, get out of the gates, say, without having grown up here and have a huge database to start a team. So originally I was, an admin on a team or a buyer agent on a team, and then built that up to, now where we are today.
So you're at Keller Williams now. Have you always been at Keller Williams?
Yeah, I've always been at Keller Williams since 2006. Yeah.
And when did you start your team? Was that also in 2008, or is it 2008 when you went full-time and then you started your team years later?
Bumped around a little bit. I was actually on the True Brit team with Deborah Coward, Deborah Meek. I was really their buyer agent and admin before they started to evolve into the team they have now.
Yep.
And did a lot of the administrative answering the phones until we realized, right, I needed to be out showing. So I was learning this whole process of, someone that's better at the office, handling all the paperwork just wasn't my thing.
Yeah.
And then we realized, me being out there to work with buyers because Deborah was great with sellers. Yeah. And then I had overhear how she handled sellers. So I grew and just naturally progressed into listing homes. And I knew, I think we both realized I was also going to list homes. So we parted ways and I started my own team. And then I actually became one of the first agents to join Expansion before it was really called Keller Williams Expansion. Now it's a whole division of Keller Williams. But Gary Keller, one of my mentors, had dabbled and he had already had this idea since the mid 80s of why not expand into markets, basically how the franchise grew. He always came back and said, well, he kicked himself that he didn't put an agent on his team in each and every market. Mm-hmm. With the concept being he'd have ownership in everything and be able to grow a team. So we had this idea and ran with it. And I was the guinea pig with a couple of other people around the country to run with, here's the model and test it out. Okay, that didn't work. Let's pivot. And here's this. And then, you've got the industry changes, people changed, buyers and sellers changed. The market of the moment, not that the formation of teams has changed. It's just that, the internet was growing even bigger. Yeah. And, people are different and the market got easier. And so we dabbled with, buying leads online versus, going out and just working your database like crazy. Yeah. So you get, there's the catch-22. There's the, I teach people how to fish, or I just keep fishing and they all want my leads, my appointments, my business, and they're attracted to me. Yet Keller Williams is telling you, each agent is its own brand. So you had to be careful there that, the team was the Mateja Group, but then there was agents that might have felt like they outgrew that, or their clients wanted specifically them versus did they call for Jeff? And then Jeff handed business buyers and sellers to other people.
That's something that happens on any team, right? I mean, people outgrow their role. And I feel like I've seen it a lot in my career. I've been in business since 2008 myself. So right around the same time, and seen a million people kind of come and go from teams. have you had a lot of people on the team over the years, or do you have a core
Yeah.
of people that you've been with since the beginning and a few people here and there?
There's an agent that's been with me from day one, going on, 10, 11 years now. And there's folks 5, 6 years, but there's also that turnover, that natural attrition of, people kind of want to try it on their own. They get, you get tons of buyer leads, and then those buyers become eventual sellers, and they get those calls and they say, well, right, why am I, necessarily giving those back to Jeff? Let's work them together. So our team has also progressed from the original days of I just listed properties and then everybody else worked the buyers and had the open house opportunities, and the phone just kept ringing and ringing and ringing. Then I've started to hand off, well, right, I want to free up my time to do bigger and greater things and make my world bigger so that they all want to stay in it. Then I stopped necessarily listing as many properties and gave the reins over to someone else, which we did that a few times and found that those people that took the reins necessarily were not the right people. Now I've found some folks that are, and they actually, believe it or not, took it to another level that I hadn't imagined. We listed 225 properties last year.
Unreal. Where does that put you at KW, at the Market Center in Portland? Is that the number one?
I'm number one 3 years in a row. We had always had the most buyers going back, I think, 8 or 9 years.
Oh, wow.
It always had the most buyers because that was originally the focus. And then my coach and mentors had said, right, well, you want about a 50-50 business. You don't want to get rid of buyers because that's what, gives some of these newer agents their start. But you need to be 50-50 or at least 60-40. You've got to get listings because that's what keeps growing. And that's the market share. You need more signs out there. You need those open house opportunities and in that market share. And then we saw that just take off when we focused on listings.
Now, has it been an issue for you to provide buyer leads to your team right now, or how has it been for, I guess, your buyers agents right now? I mean, it's a challenging.
Obviously during COVID, don't get me wrong, it got tougher. People were working, 2 to 3 times as hard to get that buyer. You see these people and you develop that relationship and you become, almost like family with them. Mm-hmm. That you don't want to just say, well, sorry, after 6 offers, you didn't find a house. They're committed to, we want to earn that right to be their agent forever. And obviously you want to get paid. So, not going to lie, you want to get that commission for all that work that you've put in. So these folks just, right, you'd write 10, 15 offers to get one accepted, maybe more.
And I was right there doing the pre-qual letters, so I know, it's just offer after offer, pre-qual letter after pre-qual letter, and that's just kind of, I guess, how it goes, and probably is going to be how it goes, at least for the foreseeable future. You mentioned something about being involved in expansions. Mm-hmm. How did that, I wanted to ask you at the time, but how did that work? Because obviously there was already a market group in Portland. So how were you involved in expansions?
Right. So a top agent in New England had said, right, he was in another state, Vermont, and had outgrown his spot. So he had become the number one agent in Vermont very quickly and said, right, I could keep dominating Vermont, yet he also owned his market center and had, also been mentored by Gary. And Gary said, well, right, the idea that he had originally was starting in Austin and go to Dallas, San Antonio, Houston, etc. Why not go somewhere that you could drive in the day and still be home for dinner and with your family? Because Gary's big thing was like making sure that he was with his significant other and family and saw them, their games and stuff. So he actually made people come to him. So when I partnered with Adam, the idea was, well, Adam will come visit, but I really did go to Vermont more often to pick up the lingo and the all the key pieces. And then with Zoom, we were able to do some of this, or he'd come and train here. But the concept is like, they already had the system and tools. So just picture a franchise within the franchise is simply, what it was is,
which makes sense.
He's doing it, kicking butt. If you follow his model, do everything that he does. And that was the thing is I came from that internal audit background. So I was studying what other businesses did. So I would pick apart, like, well, why do we do that? Why don't we do it this way? Let's be the most efficient. Yeah. And so people bought into what I was conveying from Gary and Adam and grew the team exponentially. I mean, I went from 32 transactions as a solo agent on my own to, I think, 98 in the first year as a team with 4 brand new buyer agents that hadn't closed more than 3 or 4 deals themselves. So all, 3 or 4 of them did 20 plus deals in their first year with us.
So what's the relationship with Adam now? Because now that you mention this, I feel like I've heard this before, and I've heard about Adam before. So are you guys still a partnership?
No, that ended in 2015 or 16. And I was in Falmouth at the time, and we had, kind of developed a different concept and, still stay connected, but we had a different vision for where we wanted to go in our business. And went separate ways. When I since moved to Scarborough, opened a mega agent office. So I've been outside of the Portland Market Center, 50 Stool Street, since 2014, 15.
Now, you're in Scarborough, Route 1, correct?
Yeah, right on Pine Point Road.
Yeah.
Right on corner Route 1, Pine Point Road.
That's what I thought. Tell me about that office space, because you're involved in a number of different things in that office, right? Is there property management? Is there, Mateja Group's more than just real estate, or at least that's the way I think of it nowadays.
Yeah. So we went the route of, Gary Keller always said, and, not always say, but he knew that he was a training company disguised. He was a training company first that happened to do real estate. Mm-hmm. Instead of a real estate company that just happened to have a training arm. He wanted to be the training company that happened to be real estate agents. So we would hear that and we get coached on different things and said, every agent buys and sells real estate, the good ones. But then there's folks that, may own a mortgage company or property management. And so it naturally grew into, organically, clients were coming to us saying, well, I'm looking to buy a property. Who's your property manager? Who would you recommend? Just like in your field, you get people that are like, hey, I'm new to the area. Who do you recommend for this, that? And so we heard this enough time that we said, well, why are we giving these leads to a property management company who, well, maybe they take great care, maybe they don't, but we want control. We don't want that issue that they don't come back to us in the future. If I send it to a property manager, who knows that he or she has another real estate agent they work with?
Yeah, then they're gone. Then your customer you referred is gone.
Who do we know that is in this role? And so we interviewed agents, and some agents came and raised their hand and said, well, I was in this space, or I did this or that, and I came from a property management background. Excellent. Well, here's an idea. Let's get it up to speed. Let's talk to an let's organically just talk to clients. And so then it went, and then I can't remember the time frame, but all of a sudden, 30 doors come to us. Yeah. And then a client says, well, I've got 6. And all of a sudden you're like, 36 becomes 45 and 50 and 72. And then people were like, well, do you do Airbnb? And then we had a young lady that joined our team, Danny Higgins, that had experience there, and myself. And then we put our heads together and then developed with a company called LiveRes to direct book. And, that's, again, more info. Yeah. Property management, let them deal with that. But it went from property management to just, I call people constantly. And I've talked to some folks and said, well, right, well, how's business? And like, well, it's good, but I'm kind of upset about this or that. And then that turned into, well, you should talk to this person. And then all of a sudden I become part owner of Farmers Insurance. Yeah. And then, my wife maybe isn't, like most people in corporate America or just business in general, working for someone else, say, I'm not happy where I am. I'd like to explore this. So then my wife dabbles in a skincare company. Yeah. Now we have an esthetician and 2 nurse practitioners that have 2 skincare offices in the.
Is that on site or is this a different building in Charlotte?
It's on site. The utilization of the space, it was formerly a kitchen, like a canteen for our office, and we were able to, put a microwave and a refrigerator, hot plate, teapot for coffee and everything in a separate closet and be just fine. Yep. And then because the town of Scarborough also wanted my property to be, it was zoned residential commercial. We had to keep a residential component, or at least they would prefer that. Yep. The person I bought it off did residential. So they actually loved that I moved it to commercial residential. Yep. So there's a 1-bedroom Airbnb upstairs that basically, covers my, my mortgage and office expenses and the maintenance of the grounds.
That's great. Now, the property management, how many doors do you have now?
Yeah, last I knew, don't hold me to this, I believe it's 80.
Yeah, it's 80. So that'll keep someone busy. And then the farmers thing, I assume, has been going pretty well. I do some business with Jeff and his team.
Absolutely.
So,
then it just naturally progresses. I don't have exposure to who our clients are at Farmers because it's in a separate facility, and obviously there's confidentiality and licensed items and fiduciary responsibilities. So I don't see that naturally. But we talk to you as loan officer, mortgage banker, and then go and our clients are naturally asking, well, who do you use for insurance? Yep. Well, I personally use X, Y, and Z. Great. Why not receive a benefit from that? I remember even in BNI giving out 40 plus referrals to the insurance agent in my group and, didn't receive a referral back.
It's so easy.
Yeah.
Right. So I didn't realize that you were in BNI. How long were you in BNI for?
When I first got started, so 2006 to like
Just a few years.
2010, 11. Yep.
So I founded a chapter in Saco, and I've been in it for 6 or 7 years, and it's been great for my business. But yeah, there's definitely people that you get more referrals to than you receive them from, and part of that's just the nature of things. But I could see wanting to take advantage of that for your own business as well. What's next for you business-wise? Is there any other ancillary businesses that you're considering? Like, not looking to break any news, but like, are you trying to get into other areas?
So we've always seen, going back to Gary's training piece, we've always seen that, people are always asking us for, pick our brain or mastermind. And so we went down the path of, I love to give you advice, but it comes with a cost. I'm willing to share information because I know, 9 out of 10 people won't use that information in our backyard. Even we've had more folks come shadow me from out of state than people who could just drive 5 minutes. Pick up the phone and, just walk over here to see what we do every day. So we saw an opportunity to do group coaching as well as just even, online trainings where folks are willing to pay to get that motivation, that training, that consulting, and not run into the hurdles that I did, right? So what I explained to a number of our agents on our team is like, you'll get an MBA in real estate if you just sit over my shoulder for a week.
Totally.
That's
the best way to learn. Better than any...
Right.
Better than
even when I was recruiting an agent, that was probably like 6 or 8 years ago, they said it's in it. And I said, don't forget about the split. You have an opportunity here where I respect you've done your 18, 24, 30 transactions. Awesome. Disregard what it costs. You can't put a price tag on that I'm going to do 398 transactions in 2021.
Yeah.
And you're going to overhear bits and pieces of all of them. And then you're going to be involved in 35 to 40 on your own. We had an agent right out of the gate, no sphere locally, did 68 transactions last year.
Oh, wow.
I think 78.
Yeah.
Another person moved here from Washington, D.C., did 25 to 30. Again, no sphere. They picked up referrals, but they also picked up online leads. They picked up people just naturally like socializing. So there was a good diversity and allocation between like us providing leads, them sourcing a little bit of their own. And as long as they could convert, people have been fantastic to be a part of the team and follow the systems.
So you touched on the idea that you guys are doing a mastermind event coming up in a couple months, or actually in a month from now.
Right.
The genesis of that was what you basically just said. People come to you for advice. There's an opportunity for you to make some money on it and put together an event, and then you just kind of ran with it from there.
Yeah, I mean, even with this event, I might not make money, but I see that we play the long game. We always talk about the tortoise and the hare. That book, the tortoise always wins. We believe that even by having the attendance and having the speakers, so I said, we hadn't had the fantastic opportunity to travel. It was harder to get to different places. I mean, Gary always puts on a mastermind in Austin, Texas. And I think in Boston, it's coming up this coming weekend, first week of October. So you can go down to that. You can go to Family Reunion, which was, I want to say, was in Texas also. Yeah. This year it's going to be in Anaheim in February. And, then you look at the cost of flights, registration, et cetera, getting out there, maybe missing a day because of cancellations or delays, the weather. We said, well, why not bring some of that to us? And we have people doing 300-400 transactions in Connecticut, Massachusetts, New York. Why not have them come up here to South Portland? And then it exposes our team to the possibilities of, well, wow, there's a 25-year-old that has 39 doors that's going to be on a panel and speaking. We have folks that are doing crazy stuff with video. We have lenders that are mailing letters to see if buyers or sellers will sell their house. And then he's going back, you can copy this for me, but he's going back and then saying, well, I already have someone that wants to sell their house. Which one of my agents that I work with as a loan officer has this buyer? And, who wouldn't love that?
Definitely. It's a great idea.
He's creating business for himself and his agents.
I saw the speaker list and some big names I recognize, names that I don't, but I'm sure it's going to be a well-produced event. And it's something that you're looking to replicate.
Yeah, we'd love for this to be frequent, at least annual. It is a lot to put on. You're dealing with people's schedules, hotels, families, everything else that comes up. Even like planning a client event, we say, well, should we do it on Saturday or Sunday? you put it on Saturday, and people with kids probably have different events and sports and activities, and then you put it on Sunday, and some people have church or they're diehard Patriots fan and can't miss the big game. So
not this year.
Damned if you don't. So we just try to provide the most opportunity, most exposure.
Yep.
And again, it's an opportunity for our agents to get out there and be social with our database. Which, we talk about communication and relationships constantly.
Yeah.
That's really the secret sauce.
Well, especially coming off of COVID the past few years, there haven't really been events like this.
Yeah.
That people can get together with their peers and people that they, look up to in the business and get a chance to talk and network with them. So I think for that alone should bring people in. I know I've been spreading the word on it, and I'll probably continue to do that. So I'm definitely looking forward to it. You are also busy with a radio show.
That's right.
You've been doing that for a while?
Yeah. So I belong to a marketing group, radio and television experts, and it's exclusive to a market. Kind of the idea is that, these folks had worked to promote us, and you had to qualify. You had to do a certain production to get into this level, this tier. But from that, then it's just right. It's that frequency and the repeat and repetitive. And, we've already been anointed as the expert, the area expert. Now it's just to layer that on top. So, you hear radio ads, you see TV commercials, and then what better way than to have an actual radio show that then we can communicate with the consumer. They can, it is a recorded show on Wednesdays that then airs on Sundays, but we can hear from the public that, what do they want to hear about, and then showcase, talent. We've had folks on from, organizing your home to buttoning it up with spray foam insulation, et cetera, to lenders, title, insurance.
You had some people from Biddeford on recently.
Correct, yeah.
That I saw.
Community experts that were on kind of the recreation, but the downtown
definitely
exposure.
Yeah, so it's something that I've been following. I actually see some similarities between what we're doing here on the podcast and what you have here when you're bringing in experts and having just conversation and trying to learn from people and kind of get word out on different things. So I think it's nice that you can put it on the radio, promote it, but then also have podcast form, right? Because you're putting that out on Spotify and Apple as well.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And people can find us on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram. So again, when I would go on an appointment, I would explain to people, I'm going to sell your house. I just don't know where the buyer is going to necessarily come from. But I've got to get as many eyeballs and ears to see and hear about your property as I can.
Is that something you plan to continue to do moving forward? Or?
Yeah. And it's great because it's, the listenership is great. The station's wonderful. It's got good frequency. And then, it's an opportunity to, again, give exposure to our folks that we work with, third-party vendors, and just things that clients are asking about all the time.
Yeah. One of the other things that reminds me of is when I think back to early in my career, before I even knew you, I would see you on TV with Barbara Corcoran on these commercials. How did that work in terms of getting some of her time to be in a TV.
So also through the rate folks, the academic radio and television experts. This gentleman who, he started in radio and had a huge business, he came up with a concept to, give more exposure to the top agents in the market and then approach different talents throughout the country over the years from, Rush Limbaugh, Sean Hannity, I think Howie Carr locally has a big show in Boston to offer endorsements. And these folks said, well, right, as long as it's someone that, if I were to stand side by side, they look the part, they're doing the business, they have the credibility, they're honest. Yep. They put that out there, and Barbara thought, first, and then he said, well, right, but I have 75 to 100 agents across the country that, right, you are the perfect person for this. You're real estate mogul, Shark Tank, on TV. Yeah. They call her when the Today Show has anything to talk about real estate. She gets called in, so that expert. And the idea was pitched to us. And really, it's like, okay, you've passed the test to just get that phone call. Yeah. Now, if we're on board, as long as you keep playing the part and kind of stay out of jail, you're on.
I don't know how frequently you do it, but you first did it years ago, right? I feel like I remember this a while back, and then again more recently.
Our partnership with her is going on at least 4 or 5 years that I can remember. Yeah, because it was well before COVID.
Yeah. Time's so weird right now. It's hard to.
Yeah.
It feels like it was forever ago, but the past couple of years have been a black hole. So, I give you a ton of credit. Obviously, a lot of success in the market group and in the area, but trying different things when it comes to TV, radio, advertising, building a team, all these other businesses. Is there a comparable? Do you have a competitor in a sense in this way, or I feel like one of the few people that has their hands in all of these different things?
So yeah, I mean, I think that's the biggest piece, and that's another thing that Gary taught us is that, right, you may have a competitor in real estate, right? We know maybe there's an agent or two that sells more homes, their team does, but maybe they don't if we have then the ancillaries or the other things that develop because of it. Sure, they probably have other ancillaries too, but then we're starting to compare ourselves to, right, we want to deliver service like Ritz-Carlton, Amazon, Netflix, so that you get that, and that's why we're positioning more towards the consumer, the client experience versus like the transaction. And it does, I mean, it gets awfully hard when you're saying, right, I sold 398 homes. So some people hear that as well. Was I number 365 or like, where was I in that? Like, no. Like, or they think, geez, you just make a ton of money and all you care about is the number. Really, we want that repeat. So like in the insurance business, it was good to kind of collaborate there, as they're all about retention because it's that residual.
Yeah.
We want, even in the real estate business, that like, I want to sell you multiple homes. I know that you're not going to buy like 4 this year. Maybe there are people that do that, but you might buy 4 or 5 in 20 years. You might also refer your friends and family. That could be another 4 or 5. And well, you might need insurance. You might, maybe you want them to be property managed. We might have a few of your properties in your portfolio. It all just, you don't know where it's going to go from there. And we just want to be everything to everyone.
Yeah. Love it. So then with all this being said and all these business things that you're involved in, what do you do for fun? Anything? Find time for any fun out there?
Round up a 6-year-old and a 9-year-old who's be active in sports and just running around.
I hear you.
Or at each other's throats at times.
Hey, I have a 5-year-old, an 8-year-old, and a 10-year-old, so I know what that's like trying to juggle all that stuff and business at the same time. So I appreciate you making time to come on and talk about all the different things that you have going on. So
thank you. That was awesome.
Yeah. So, all right, bud. We'll do it again sometime. We'll be in touch. All right.
You got it. Thank you.
Thanks, man.